First of all, please tell us what's your name, surname, tell about your company, your country, where are you from?
Sure. My name is Kenem Globermanem. I am born and raised in New York City. I spent basically my whole life there. And over the last 10 years, I have been coming and going between Central Eastern Europe. I came to Poland for the first time in 2003. And in 2010, I began to come more frequently to Poland, particularly. And I have been spending a lot of time over the last 2 years in Poland developing business, working with young companies who are interested in getting help and assistance to raise financing out of Poland, particularly either Western Europe or the United States. And I work under the name Global Group Ventures, an American company, and it's been a great experience so far.
During the e-Business forum, you talked about the expansion of foreign e-service. On what differences in the approach of the investors may come across Polish startup looking for an investor from the USA?
Well, there's a couple of things. One, from what I've, in talking to Polish entrepreneurs who actually have experience working with U.S. investors and Polish investors, there's a couple of differences that I hear people talk about all the time. The first one is that U.S. investors tend to be more focused longer term and looking for the big payoff and are willing to wait it out longer. They're looking for a company who can really dominate one particular niche and are willing to wait to actually see that transpire. European investors tend to have a little bit of a shorter time horizon and are looking for perhaps not as aggressive, maybe more conservative returns, but look for them sooner rather than later. As far as Polish companies dealing with U.S. investors, I think that the fact of the matter is that dealing with young companies, whether they be from the United States or from somewhere else, it has a certain element of risk that is associated to it. That's why they call it venture capital and not mature private equity. And in so, with risk comes return. And this is why investors in general are going to look for a return that is equivalent to the risk they feel they're taking. If you bring now another level of risk on top of that, which is going to be, for example, you're dealing with a company who may have demonstrated some success in Poland, but may not have proven themselves in another market, this adds additional execution risk. And the more risk we add, the more return those investors are going to seek, which means that they will be putting a discount on valuation to companies that are not from the United States. And the best way Polish companies can mitigate this is by trying to establish themselves to some degree in the United States before they even approach investors, in my opinion.
The second question, how to look for a foreign investor? Is a good idea to participate in the startup competition in the US?
Very much so. That's probably the best way. The seed camp, startup weekend, and those are just a couple of big ones that are very global. But you know, in me talking to companies that have succeeded, a common thread in the success is that they got good PR from participating in competitions. When a company, whether it's a small competition or a big competition, when a company wins or gets some notoriety in a competition, it helps create publicity, which hopefully gets picked up in one of the trade publications like TechCrunch or on the internet, and before you know it, this is how their story can grow virally. So going to competitions and also, let's say, to conferences are two very good ways for young companies to interact with investors.
Are foreign investors interested in e-service market in Poland? What is the strength of Polish startups in the global market?
I think everybody knows, well, everybody that I know understands that there's a lot of good technology people in Poland, that Poland has a good talent base for software developers, programmers, project managers, and technical people in general, engineers. So a company that is based on, let's say, a service or a technology where their real intellectual property comes from the development of people like that is the kind of company that I think people, U.S. investors, are going to be most interested in.
How do you rate the services that today won in the competition for the Innovate e-service? Would you invest it in them?
You know something, it's hard for me to comment because I didn't even know there was going to be this, award ceremony. I wasn't aware of the competition, so I don't know enough to tell you if I would invest in them, but I will tell you that during the break, several people have approached me and want to talk with me about how I might be able to help them. So I will be surely learning more about these companies in the next few weeks.
Please give 3 advices for the novice businessman from Poland who will be talking, for example, with the investment fund in the US.
Number 1, you need to be able to demonstrate to an investment fund that you are not out to create a lifestyle business, that you want to create a company that will outperform its competitors or the typical company in its market. If they see that you're willing to struggle and commit to actually making that happen, it's going to go a long way to get them to believe and trust in you. I would also say don't just blindly seek financing. You should really have a sense of what you need the capital for and don't ask for more than you really need. And what goes along with that is if you want to, in fact, if you believe in the startup, if you believe that it has potential, that you have a lot more room to grow and a lot more work to do, don't give away too much of your sweat equity anytime soon. We just had that question in the last panel discussion. How much equity should I give away? There's no answer to that. But in reality, if you want to remain engaged in the startup as the entrepreneur, the answer is just give away as little as possible. Worry less about the valuation and more about how much equity you're giving away, and don't take more money than you need.
What besides money you can receive from the foreign investor?
Oh, well, for sure. When you're talking about young companies, the contacts and the advisory, mature business consultation that a mature, that an investment advisor could give would probably is as valuable, if not more valuable, than the money. If in fact you are talking about a business that is where there's a sales and marketing element to it. I think that when you're talking about a foreign person bringing something into the United States, the sales and marketing aspect to it is something that that's missing often, and that's the kind of thing, that's the kind of gap that an investor who has that background can fill. If you're talking about someone who's got been doing R&D on a particular product, for example, and you have no idea how to commercialize that, hopefully a good investor will be able to fill that role for you and help you both figure out how to take this quality R&D and actually commercialize it into a money-making product itself. So, yeah.
And the last question, are there any particular sectors that are favored by foreign investors? What does not interest them at all?
Oh, boy. I don't think there's a sector you can say that investors are not interested in. Investors are interested. It's less about the sector. It's more about scalability. Investors like e-services and e-commerce, internet-based companies because they have no geographic boundaries. So they're infinitely scalable if you think about it. When you talk about businesses like, let's say, hotel chains, that requires a lot of capital investment to actually build buildings, build hotels, and hopefully actually make money from that. But it takes time. You can't scale geographically as fast as you can if you have an e-service business. So generally, investors look towards products or services that have the most scalability and have the greatest market potential available to them. But I can't say to you there are investors who like restaurants, or investors who like food products, or investors who like marketing, analytics, or investors who like all sorts of things. So it's less about the segment, and it's more about how capital intensive is that business, and combined with how scalable it is. So,
Thank you very much.
sure, glad to be here.